Welcome back to Football Daily, where me, Doogie, the new boy, is going to take you through the top 10 managers that betrayed their clubs. And yes, I do sound posh. Live with it. 10. Andre Villas-Boas. Portuguese, smug, slick, given his first job by Sir Bobby Robson and having never played professionally, there are plenty of similarities between Andre Villas-Boas and Jose Mourinho. Another thing that they have in common, however, is their penchant for pissing off previous employers. AVB had a quite simply stunning debut season with Porto, going unbeaten in the Primeira Liga, only the second time that this has been achieved, and winning the league by 20 points, having only conceded 13 goals all season. He also picked up the Portuguese Cup and the Europa League, completing a remarkable treble, and off he went to Chelsea in the summer of 2011, with Roman Abramovich forking out £13.5 million in compensation. So far, so good. No betrayals in sight. However, AVB could only last till March 2012, after a run of 3 wins in 12 games led to the chop. Chelsea were sitting outside the top 4, averaging only 1.7 points per game, and Villas-Boas had fallen out with key senior members, including Alex, Terry, Lampard and Cole. However, it wasn't failing with Chelsea that was the betrayal. Better and more experienced managers have done the same. It was his next career move to arch-rivals Spurs that was the ultimate 2 fingers to the fans and board of Chelsea. 9. Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill may well be many people's favourite softly spoken Northern Irishman. However, he has burnt some bridges in the Midlands. After leading Leicester to a series of mid-table finishes and 2 League Cup triumphs in the late 1990s, he then departed for a trophy-laden spell at Celtic, where he won 3 league titles and lost a UEFA Cup final to a Porto side led by a young Jose Mourinho. In 2006, he arrived at Villa Park, and in his 4 seasons he finished a commendable 11th, followed by 3 consecutive 6th-place finishes, with a team that included the likes of Milner, Barry, Petrov, Ashley Young, John Carew and Gabi Agbonlahor. However, his relationship with Villa's universally hated American owner Randy Lerner led to O'Neill's departure in the summer of 2010, over arguments about not being able to invest funds into the squad after the departure of Milner. The problem was that his sudden departure came just 5 days before the start of the new season. What happened next was unthinkable at the time. Villa have had 7 managers in 7 years since, and now find themselves struggling to adapt to the Championship under Steve Bruce. 8. Jose Mourinho. The special one he may be, but at times his man management style has left a lot to be desired. Jose Mourinho is intense, demanding and relentless in his pursuit of success, and at times this has led to him clashing with his players. After a controversial spell at Real Madrid, where he fell out with elements of the media, Ramos, Ronaldo and poked Tito Villanova in the eye, Mourinho went home, to Chelsea. Following on from Rafa Benitez, Mourinho steadied the ship in his first season, finishing 3rd, and topped this with his 3rd Premier League title in 2015. Chelsea were champions. What could go wrong? In short, everything. He fought journalists, board members, physios, got taken to court and fell out with key components of his title triumph just a year before, namely Eden Hazard, Fabregas and Costa. He was sacked 7 months after the title with a win percentage of just 25% in that final season, and Chelsea languishing in an unfamiliar 16th position, just 1 point above the relegation zone. Some would say Mourinho owes Chelsea nothing, but there is no doubting that pitching up at long-term rivals Manchester United in May 2016 was a heartless, cold and calculated move. Winning the title this year with United is unthinkable for the Stamford Bridge faithful. Number 7. David Platt. David Platt had a solid professional football career, changed almost single-handedly by one moment. In the 1989-1990 season, he had been named PFA Player of the Season, having scored 19 goals in the league for Aston Villa from midfield. The World Cup beckoned, and 4 goals at Italia 90, including that famous right-footed swinging volley from a Paul Gascoigne free kick against Belgium, propelled Platt to global stardom. After one final season in the Midlands, he moved first to Bari, then Juve, and then Sampdoria, where he scored 17 goals in 55 games across 2 seasons. He played alongside Ruud Gullit, Roberto Mancini and under the young Swedish manager Sven-Göran Eriksson, who led them to a 3rd place in Serie A and a Coppa Italia. After a final playing stint at Arsenal, Platt was offered the chance at a mere 32 years of age to manage Sampdoria. But if he'd been thinking with his head rather than his heart, he may have realised that he is woefully underqualified and inexperienced for the role. His stint proved disastrous. He was sacked after 6 games, having taken Sampdoria down for the first time in 17 years. 6. Glenn Roeder. A spell in charge of West Ham that no one at the club will remember with anything resembling affection. In May 2002, he led West Ham to a 7th place finish and a new 3-year contract followed. The following year, he fell out spectacularly with Paulo Di Canio. Not a tricky task, admittedly, but he refused to play the erratic Italian for an 8-game period. This ultimately cost the side. They were bottom at Christmas and took part in a mass brawl with Bolton in April. 2 days later, Roeder was taken to hospital following a 1-0 win over Middlesbrough, where a benign brain tumour was found which required an operation. In light of all his health issues, it seems harsh to include Roeder on this list, but he did take a side that included Paolo Di Canio, Jermaine Defoe, David James, Joe Cole and Glenn Johnson down, which is pretty inexcusable. 5. Brian Clough. A spell so bad that a film was made about it, Brian Clough had a remarkable managerial career, winning 4 league titles and 2 European Cups across spells with Derby County and Nottingham Forest. He arrived at the club from Derby County, where he had won the 2nd Division title in 1968, followed by the 1st Division in 1971. His move to Leeds was somewhat of a surprise, after Clough had repeatedly criticised the style and methods of his predecessor Don Revie, even going as far as telling his new squad that they could throw all their medals in the bin because they were not won fairly. Needless to say, this didn't go down well with his new players. A revolt followed, and after 1 win in 6 games, Clough was shown the door after a measly 44 days in charge. 4. Hristo Stoichkov. Although undoubtedly a world-class player who racked up an impressive 220 goals in 454 career appearances, which included 2 spells at Barcelona, Bulgarian Hristo Stoichkov was an awful manager. On rocking up at Celta Vigo in the summer of 2007, Stoichkov declared that he didn't believe in tactics. This had already been evident during his 3-year spell in charge of Bulgaria, where he fielded a 2-4-4 formation that had left them trailing Malta for half an hour. Fine, maybe tactics aren't his thing, but what about his man management? No, this is a manager who forced 3 players, 2 of them as captains, into premature retirements, and even took on the country of Romania when he accused them of fixing a qualifier. Unsurprisingly unpopular at Celta, he was sacked 6 weeks into the 2008-2009 season. 3. Claude Anelka. It must be difficult being the older sibling to an incredibly successful younger brother, one who has played for PSG, Arsenal, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea and France amongst many others, who has commanded cumulative transfer fees of over £108 million. But that is the position of Claude Anelka, older brother of notoriously moody and nomadic Nicolas Anelka. Wanting a slice of the action and tired of being an agent and DJ, Claude decided he wanted to go in the hot seat. He offered £300,000 to any lower league club in 2004, and Scottish side Wraith Rovers took the bait. Citing Wenger and Cruyff as influences of his football philosophy, and after buying some 7-a-side players from Parisian suburbs, Anelka could unsurprisingly only muster 1 point from 24 before being shown the door. Well, at least it was something different. Number 2. Egil Olsen. Not many managers can lay claim to the fact that their reigns led to their clubs being wiped from the football landscape. But Egil Olsen is not any normal manager. He has had 18 different spells as a manager, and one club, Frigg Oslo FK, have hard and fired him 4 times. But it is not for his spells coaching in Norway for which Olsen is remembered, but rather his catastrophe of a spell in charge of Wimbledon. In 1999, Wimbledon had spent the last 13 years in the top flight, and were beginning to develop into a more patient passing side, when long ball specialist Olsen, nicknamed Drillo, rocked up. He failed to win over the crazy gang with his wellies, bizarre glasses and love of zonal marking, and was sacked with relegation looming. Many Dons will blame Olsen for their demise 4 years after his reign, which saw Wimbledon rebranded as Milton Keynes Dons. 1. Harry Redknapp. It never goes down well when a manager works for 2 rivals. Think Sam Allardyce managing Newcastle and Sunderland, George Graham both Arsenal and Spurs, and Alex McLeish Birmingham and Aston Villa. But Harry Redknapp managed to top the lot. In 2003-04, Redknapp managed to keep Portsmouth in the Premier League before a series of disputes with owner Milan Mandaric led to Redknapp's resignation in November 2004. A few weeks later, Redknapp made the 19-mile trip from Fratton Park to St Mary's, much to the disgust of both sets of fans. T-shirts reading Scummer, Judas and Rot in Hell were printed and worn. He failed to keep Southampton in the league and fell out with England World Cup Rugby Union winning coach Sir Clive Woodward, who was appointed director of football. He returned to Portsmouth, which he was quoted as calling his spiritual home. He did, however, manage to appease the Pompey fans with an unlikely FA Cup triumph over Cardiff in 2008, thanks to a Kanu goal. He may have been very unfaithful during his managerial career, but Redknapp can at least lay claim to being the last English manager to win a trophy.
So we hope you enjoyed that, and if you want to check out more of our videos, then click here on screen. Don't forget to like and subscribe and get on our Snapchat and our Twitter.